Welcome to this video on The Tide Turns, the Pacific War, 1941 to 1943. We will explore the key events that shifted the balance of power in the Pacific theater of World War II. Japan's ambition for empire began before 1941, starting with the takeover of Manchuria in 1931 and the invasion of China in 1937. The protracted war strained Japan's resources, leading them to target resource-rich European colonies in Southeast Asia. By October 1940, U.S. intelligence cracked Japanese codes, revealing plans for conquest that threatened American territories. The U.S. responded by aiding China and cutting off oil shipments. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto saw the U.S. Pacific Fleet as a quote pointed at Japan's throat that needed a decisive blow. On the morning of December 7, 1941, a surprise Japanese attack struck the U.S. fleet at Pearl Harbor. In just 2 hours, 19 ships were sunk or damaged, and over 2,300 Americans were killed. As President Roosevelt said, this was which will live in infamy. Almost simultaneously, Japan launched a massive offensive across the Pacific and Southeast Asia. Key targets included U.S. territories, Thailand, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. The Japanese drive for a Pacific empire was now fully underway. In early 1942, Japan's conquest seemed unstoppable, rapidly seizing U.S. and British possessions and the Dutch East Indies. By the time Burma fell, Japan controlled over 1 million square miles of Asia, encompassing 150 million people. Japan's slogan of East Asia for the Asiatics quickly revealed itself to be a mask for conquest and cruelty. The Bataan Death March, one of the most brutal acts, subjected Allied prisoners to a forced march over 50 miles in the Philippines. Of approximately 70,000 prisoners, only 54,000 survived. The Doolittle Raid in April 1942, involving 16 B-25 bombers attacking Tokyo, inflicted minimal physical damage but had enormous psychological impact. It proved that Japan's home islands were not immune to attack, leading Japanese leaders to doubt their invincibility. The Battle of the Coral Sea in May 1942 was a tactical draw, but strategically, it was a crucial Allied victory. It stopped Japan's southward advance toward New Guinea for the first time. This battle marked a new kind of naval warfare, fought entirely by planes from aircraft carriers. Japan's next move was the gamble at Midway. Admiral Yamamoto planned to lure the U.S. Pacific Fleet into a decisive battle near Midway Island. However, Allied codebreakers, led by Admiral Nimitz, had deciphered the Japanese plans, turning the hunter into the hunted. The Battle of Midway unfolded on June 4, 1942. American carrier-based planes struck the Japanese fleet while they were refueling and rearming, destroying all 4 frontline aircraft carriers. This decisive blow forced a withdrawal, marking the end of the battle by June 7th. The Battle of Midway shattered Japan's naval supremacy and marked the turning point of the war in the Pacific. The era of Japanese expansion was over, and the strategic initiative now belonged entirely to the Allies. The Allies, now on the offensive, faced the challenge of vast Japanese garrisons across the Pacific. General Douglas MacArthur developed the island hopping strategy. The logic was to bypass heavily defended islands and seize those strategically located closer to Japan. The first target of this new strategy was the Battle of Guadalcanal, fought from August 1942 to February 1943. The objective was to seize a vital Japanese airbase. After a 6-month struggle on land and sea, the Allies secured control. Japan lost over 24,000 soldiers, leading to the island being called the Island of Death. For American soldiers, the strategic victory at Guadalcanal was simply hell. Ralph G. Martin described the relentless jungle, the heat, the disease, and the enemy's fanatical resistance. Pearl Harbor ended U.S. isolationism and began America's long-term military presence in the Pacific. This legacy continues to shape modern alliances, overseas bases, and rapid response strategy. Consider, how did the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 reshape U.S. foreign policy and America's role as a global military power today? The Battle of Midway proved the dominance of aircraft carriers over battleships. This outcome shaped today's naval doctrine, power projection, and reliance on air superiority at sea. Think about this. In what ways did early Pacific battles like Midway change modern naval warfare and military strategy? Island hopping emphasized strategic positioning, logistics, and control of key locations. These concepts remain central to modern tensions in the South China Sea and Pacific defense planning. Question: how did the island hopping strategy of 1942-1943 influence modern military planning and conflicts in the Indo-Pacific region? Propaganda from both sides fueled public support but also reinforced racial stereotypes. This legacy informs today's discussions about misinformation, bias, and ethical media use in conflict. Consider, how did wartime propaganda and racial attitudes during the Pacific War shape modern conversations about media, nationalism, and wartime messaging? The post-war transformation of U.S.-Japan relations, from brutal conflict to close alliance, demonstrates how war reshaped political, economic, and security partnerships that are still critical today. Final question: what lasting impact did the Pacific War have on U.S.-Japan relations and modern diplomatic alliances in Asia?